All right, ladies and gentlemen, got Stetson Bennett here with us. Stetson, how are we doing today, brother?
Good. Hanging in there.
Good. So I'm not like some super famous person or anything. I don't get asked 1,000 questions a day, but occasionally I will get asked, hey, what's Stetson Bennett like? What's he like as a football player? What's he like as a person? And I've only caught you in passing. But the number one word that kind of comes up to my mind is eclectic. You're always new every single day. Like, prime example, I'm very obsessed with watching people warm up, particularly quarterbacks, how you go through your process, what you're doing every single day. When I watch you on game days, every single game day I watched you, you added something new into your warm-up, or your warm-up looked entirely different. One day I saw you throwing a tennis ball pregame, and I thought it was maybe you trying to get the whipping action out of your fingertips. Don't know what it was for. We'll ask you in a second. Another day I saw you hopping on one foot and trying to like emphasize weight transfer. Dude, is there anything about, like, what is it about you that's just always, like I said, brand new every single day, it seems to me? And am I on base there, or am I completely off?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'd say you're on base. I'd say it's not really on purpose, right? I understand the importance of a routine of, but I guess for me, it's less about, it's still a routine, but it's not the way you would think routine. Routine is to feel right for the game, right? Like that's what it is, and I know what that feels like. It's hard for me to explain, really know, put it into words, which is probably why I don't have that routine, because I can't find it, every situation there. But the routine is, it's, I know how my body feels, and I know like where I need to warm up. And I know, and from game to game, or practice to practice, it feels different. And I know what I want to accomplish in the warm up, and how I want to feel it come off my hand. Um, and so, yeah, I'm just out there trying to figure it out. Sometimes I'm overthinking it, to be honest with you, but, it is me trying to feel something, whatever, I'm doing at that point. It might not be working, might not be, I might not accomplish it, but that's what I'm trying to do.
To me, it looks like you're trying to achieve a mind and body connection. Like, like you said, I heard you say it. I know what it's supposed to feel like. And I've tried to explain this to young athletes, like, especially when it comes to stretching. Like, when you go out onto a field every day, particularly if you're a college football player, every day your body feels different. And as a quarterback, every day your stroke feels different. The back of my shoulder might be a little tight today. My elbow might be a little sore today. There's different, my front hip might be a little tight or a little sore. There's different things in our body and in our mechanics that feel different. And it's like you said, a static every single day, this is what I do type of routine may not work for someone who is, I would assume you consider yourself a very mind connected to the body type of human. Like, when you're going through your emotions, when you're going through your practices, you are trying to connect the one to the two, correct?
Right. Well, yeah, for the longest time, like I could always throw it. I could always, not as good as I can now, but know, comparatively, I could always throw it. I could always be accurate. But then, at some point down the line, I just started thinking, I was like, well, I know I can throw it, but, I don't know why I can throw it. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And it scared me to death, because I was like, well, if I lose it and I don't know exactly what it is, then like, how am I going to find it? Like, how am I going to, if for some reason that happens. And so then, you go deeper and you try to figure out why, and you start studying your mechanics. And I studied it, and, I kind of taught myself how to throw by, I never had a quarterback coach, and I would, screen record Aaron Rodgers and screen record me, like on YouTube. I'd screen record him, film myself on the film. And then I'd look at it and I'd be like, well, there's something similar there once you slow it down, because it's hard to see in the naked eye. And then I just kept trying to shrink that gap. And then once you do that, once you feel it, it just comes out right. And then you're like, okay, but why? Okay, so this works with this. And it's, and I went back to whenever I was playing baseball, and I was thinking about hitting and like loading and transferring weight. And I was like, well, that's similar. So it's got to be, not the same, but similar. And so then you start thinking about things that way. And then at the end of the day, like, I try to figure it out, but then I also trust myself. Like you've thrown a ball for, 25 years. Like, how to throw a football. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
if it's not working, then just tell yourself, hey, go throw a football, and then don't oversmart it. Don't get in your own way. That's what I try to do, is get out of my own way.
I think I know the answer to this. It sounds like it was before you were even conscious of like what football meant. But when did you notice you had like a natural life? I've tried to explain this to people about you. I think and I'm going to ask you what the biggest misconception is about Stetson Bennett, but I think this is it. Your ball does have a tremendous amount of life. And if anybody who's ever evaluated quarterbacks, they understand like you have to go up and like see it in person before you can truly estimate or even evaluate what it is a quarterback throws like. It's why I believe all 32 NFL executives will have seen you throw in person by the time you're done with this. It's what the whole process is about. But when did you notice, like, oh, damn, like the ball comes out of my hand? You said you didn't even know you had mechanics, what mechanics were, but you had life on whatever you've been throwing since you were a young kid, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, somewhat. I mean, I always remember this. We went down to this Chris Hatcher camp in Georgia Southern like a long time ago when I was a kid. My dad brought me in. There was this like longest throw, and I think I threw it like 30 yards, and it was the only time. And it wasn't like it slipped out of my hand. Like it was all I had. And and I just remember my dad looking at me just like, really? Like I was like, yeah. And it was the only time, and I was just like, oh my gosh. But so when you get here at Georgia, and the balls are different, and I couldn't throw a spiral for like first 2 months, and so I'm trying to figure it out. I'd changed my grip, and you're constantly searching because at least I was like, I always want to be better. I always wanted to look good. I was like, these guys look good, like throwing the football. Like,
Yeah.
there's got to be a reason for that, right? Like, if they can throw it the best and it looks the best, then like maybe if you look the best, then you can throw it the best, right? And and some days like I'd throw the piss out of it, and I'd have it'd be jumping, and then other days it wouldn't. I'd be like, why? Like, if I can do it one day, I can do it every day, right? Like, it's just emotion. And back to what I was saying earlier. But yeah, I especially this year. Last year there's some balls that would come out, and in 2020, I was really just playing football out there. But this
That's fair. That's a fair estimation of what 2020 looked like. Just playing football, just figuring it out, right?
Yeah, just playing ball. Just yeah, I wasn't going to tap myself out, and I really didn't know what I was doing yet. And so when you're out there, then and you're out there, you gotta just play ball. But yeah, I mean, and part of it, man, it's just like, I'm like, when I throw I throw a football to complete the football. I don't throw it as hard as I can every play, or when that's needed, then I do that. Probably the hardest ball I threw all year was like, just as far as like just mustard on, was this it was against the Florida game when Brenton Cox was out in the flat, and we'd done some fake, and I was looking, and it was a check down, and Brenton was out there, and Dylan Bell was to the left of him, and I just threw the piss out of it because Brenton was right there, and I had to get it there before Brenton could get there. But most of the time, it's not the case. Most of the time, it's about placement. And a lot of people don't see that. But as far as juice, yeah, I think I got it.
I think you had one of the best throws of your career in that football game. It was like a 3rd and 7. You get flushed left. You got Marcus Osimi coming back on a dig back from the left to your right, and you flick a ball like as you're leaning left, he's moving right, and it's diving like in contest. I don't know if you remember, as one of the better balls I've seen you throw. But the dig route in specific, when I watch you over the years, you seem really, really comfortable with inward breaking routes, throwing into extremely tight windows in front of your face. Is that correct? Is that something you've grown into?
It's because like at the beginning, like I was like, dude, this like in routes are freaking hard because they're hard to judge. They're like 18 yards and they're full sprint and they're coming, but they're not at an angle. They're like coming. It's like this weird, like, it's a weird angle. And so because of that, like I've always had trouble. And so then I would just go throw more of them. And, the more times you throw something, you just get used to seeing what it looks like and seeing how somebody else, like different speeds of different guys. And then you figure it out. But that's why I feel comfortable now, is because I didn't at one point.
No. Let's talk about it. I'm sure I don't know if you've been asked about this specifically in this way. I want to talk about, again, like the walk-on like quarterback in the University of Georgia is not a terrible life, but it's not like the top of top. And then you go from that to live in JUCO life. The way I've always explained it to young football players is, if you're going to go play junior college football, we are going to find out how much you truly love football. Like, people talk about loving football, but I think a lot of people love what football brings them. Okay, the things that football brings them. You go out and play that JUCO ball. Like, we are truly going to find out whether or not you love this thing. Correct?
Correct. You know, and I mean, you hit the nail on the head about how it's like walk-ons, and it's so different now, man. Like, looking back on like just from 2017 and now, just everything that's changed. I mean, it's really crazy. But I mean, I have never been one to like think about like quality of life. Like, I don't know, in that way. Like, it's tough, or it's where you are. Like, that's where you are. So, but I remember being out there in JUCO and then coming back for some game to Athens, and I was driving around Athens, and I was like, man, this is better than Ellisville, Mississippi. And I love my time there. JUCO was awesome. I loved the coach. We were good. But it is truly, you're in the thick of it. Like, everybody's there because they don't want to be there. You know what I'm saying? Like,
everybody's trying to get out. Like, no one wants to be there,
and nobody has an option.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like people don't understand, a lot of things, but like the main thing is like these guys, they come from like tough situations, and this is their job, and like this is what you got to do to like take care of them. And it's not just it's a tough 2 years. If I don't make it, then it's gonna be a tough 40 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, like it's pretty serious. But when you accept that and you look at it for what it is, then like, we're here now. Like, we got to go, and now it's up to us. And so we just had a lot of dudes on that team, and I mean, we're in the middle of nowhere, and all we did was play football, hang out in the dorm room. Like, there's nothing. And I still got some of my closest friend. I was in one of my buddy's wedding last June from there, and so those boys that I'll have with me forever. But it's because when you bleed with somebody, like, it means more.
Yeah, y'all shared a different kind of struggle. Man, anyone like Stetson Bennett and the word underdog will always be tied together. I feel like anyone who ever tells your story will talk about where it began and how much of an underdog, how much you overcame. I'm curious, man. 2 national titles, first quarterback in Georgia history, throw for 4,000 yards, 3rd overall in the Heisman, going to be an NFL draft pick. Like, do you ever just sit back and be like, damn, stop talking about me like an underdog? Like, shit, I'm good at football. Can we talk about that? Like, do you ever think about it that way? Because I damn sure would.
Yeah. I mean, my mom said, after, because it's so weird. Like, it really was, because I didn't hire an agent. I didn't like do anything before the season was over, because I was like, we got something to do right now. Like, we do it, then like that stuff will take care of itself. Right. And I'll figure that out later. But I don't even want to like, and I didn't like, not even just like not pick an agent. Like, I didn't think about it. Like, yeah, like, that don't matter. And what was I saying?
You were talking about picking an agent and maybe not even thinking about the league. And
And but so after everything happened, we beat TCU. Then you got to, and and I remember Mama was talking about it, and she was like, "Yeah, it's a good story, but it's about talent now. Like, it's the talent and not the story. Like, I mean, I do, like, I can look back, because I was forced to. They forced me to kind of change who I was to become a good football player. And I wanted to. It wasn't like I wanted to be the best. I just never knew how to be the best, really. Well, I knew what the idea of it was, but I didn't know how to execute it. And then, once you get benched in front of millions of people, like you figure it out or you don't,
Yeah.
and so, like I can look back at my story and be like, yeah, it's cool. Like it is cool. And like, no, nobody's ever done it before. But like, first of all, so many people fall into place for it to happen. Like, oh my gosh, when you look back at it and, Jamie had to leave, Dewan had a bad first half, JT's knee wasn't good and JT gets hurt again. And, all these things, me even coming back, them calling me in 2019, right?
Yeah, I mean, Fields had to leave, right? He had to leave to open up a scholarship spot.
And, me going to like everything. And so I know, yeah, I had to take care of business, but there's so many things that just, anyways. But yeah, and I try not to let it get to me because I'm like, well, you got to let time tell a story because you can't convince everybody. But I'm like, yeah, dude, like I can throw it. I'm like, just watch it. Man, like that's probably the most frustrating part of the whole daggone thing. I'm like, you got game tape out there. Like,
Well,
we're going.
I don't. That's what I'm saying. I don't know what it is about you. Like, I don't know what it is because, like, when I walk up on, I'm like, that ball jumps. Nope, that's it. Like, I even remember seeing you, and I'm not going to talk about the other quarterback, but I remember seeing you my first year being credentialed in 2019 when y'all had another starter, and I'm like, I think you were even wearing 22 still at the time. I'm like, that ball jumps. Like, it comes out that hand. But,
Yep.
dude, you're not even like 5'10". You at the combine, you are 6 foot tall. Like, why? I don't get it. Do you understand why it is? Can you like because on tape it even jumps? Like we've shown it 100 times. What is it?
Yeah, no, I really don't. And like I had everybody tells me how busy I am. I'm not really not that busy, but you know, like I do, like I think about it. I'm like, and I think about it objectively. Like I don't think about it like, oh my god, my heart hurts. But it's like why? Like
Yeah.
because when you break it down, like we did have that 2 minute drive, and we did have all these things, and we did like, and we do have good players, but like, yeah, like what do you like? So does everybody. Like, who are the teams we play with? They had scrub. Like, um, and it's really, it really is weird. Like, maybe I look funny, and it's it's almost the exact same story as like when I was coming out of high school.
Yeah.
And people just, I don't know. The best thing I can take out of it is some people just don't want to be wrong. And they're just doubling down and tripling down and quadrupling down because they just don't want to be like, oh, well, I guess I was wrong. And now it's gotten to a point where like, we're so far down this road that people have even forgotten things. And I'm like, well, all I got to do, or, you just got to go play good football now in the league. That's
Yeah.
Really, so that's what I'm doing out here in Fort Worth, training and getting ready for it.
All right. I want to go back to week 2, 2021. Y'all just came back from Clemson. JT's got whatever he's got going on. We're like 3 weeks removed from, I believe, Todd Monken telling you, like, hey, son, like, I third stringer, like, I don't know. Like, we'll see. Right. And Kirby Smart in preseason, in fall camp, telling the media, which is a big thing for him to come out and say that Carson Beck is our backup quarterback going into the season.
Mm-hmm.
Week 2, UAB. I know what happened on Saturday because it was 5 for 6, like 225 and 4 tutties. What the hell happened during the week to go from this guy's got no shot to play for us from your OC to, nah, he needs to be the guy this weekend. And then like that's pretty much it. I know there was some questions that rest of that 2021 season. It felt like every week for like 4 or 5 weeks, they're like, is JT going to play? Is JT going to play? Is JT going to play? But like from UAB on, pretty much Stetson Bennett show. So what happened that week 2 during lead up to the UAB game?
Yeah, well, it kind of. We go back to 2020. Really, like I was a good football player, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't, very skilled, like technical. Like I wasn't efficient. I wasn't very consistent. I just knew that I wasn't. I knew like a few things, like don't get sacked, try not to turn the ball over, and get the ball to the guy's hands. And, that's really, I didn't understand offense, didn't really understand defense. Like, I didn't understand what they were trying to do, what we were trying to accomplish, none of that stuff. And so then JT, goes in and we won the Peach Bowl. And then coming into it, like, no spring, no summer, no fall camp reps, like, at all. And so that whole time, like, while I don't have to be worrying about run checks, when I don't have to be worrying about, making a decision in practice because I wasn't getting any reps. Like, I was just in the back working on mechanics, like working on blah, 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 and just thinking about the game, thinking about how to do it. And there's no rush. There was no, like, time thing. So I was, like, free to do whatever.
Just dry reps.
Just dry reps, just throwing it, just trying to, feel it. Just not because I thought I was going to play this year, but just because, I was, what else am I going to do? Just stand.
What else to do? That's what I was about to say.
Like, I got to be out here for like 3 hours every day. So I might as well do something. And so then when UAB came, they told me and Carson that we were going to, fight it out during the week. And we would, like, split ones and reps like that. And, I had already been, like, basically killed. Like, I was burnt. Like, there was nothing to lose. I was playing with house money, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, it was, and so there's no pressure. I just went out there and, tried to, just complete every single pass, not make bad decisions, make sure that they could trust me and all that stuff. And so I had a pretty good week of practice, and they told us that I was going to start, take the first 2 drives, and then Carson would take the next 2, and then go from there.
Didn't quite end up like that. I think you took the first 6 possessions. Y'all were up 35-0, and then Carson took the rest. That's, like, I don't even know, like, mentally as an athlete, how do you even go from I've been getting 0 reps? That's like 7 weeks, dude. That's like all of August, half of September, and now they're like, all right, go compete for a job.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you were probably, like, just scratching at the bit to even get back out there, so it probably wasn't even a thought process. It was just, let's go, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Like, you could sorry. Yeah, I mean, that's at the end of the day, like, I was like, well, I wasn't playing football last week, and they're letting me play football this week. So, yeah, like, I'm excited about it, and again, it was, I mean, there was nothing really on the table for me. Like, I had nothing to lose, and so it freed me up, and I was, excited to play ball again.
All right. My favorite question on the list here from the producers. Well, one of the last question is definitely my favorite, but this one I personally like. What is the number one misunderstanding about Stetson? I mean, we've already kind of talked about your arm talent. I think is heavily misunderstood, despite the fact that every opportunity over the last 4 years, Kirby Smart has told people, "Nah, that dude can flick that thing." Like, he's told people over and over again, and I guess people just assume it's coach speak because he does do a lot of that. But what is the biggest misunderstanding about maybe what is Stetson Bennett, or who is Stetson Bennett?
Well, I don't know. What are some, like, big understandings of him? Like, I don't know.
Well, I'll give you one. I think people think you have a standoffish attitude. That's what I hear. Like the whole parade thing, man. That's people misunderstanding you, not just understanding who it was or what was going on, or caring to understand what was going on, which is his head was in his phone because, hey, my man was on the ox. Like, it's important.
Yeah. Well, I think, like, I've never turned down a picture or turned down, like, an autograph or like anything like that, but it's still weird for me to say that. Like, and I know I'll have rid of it, but I don't know. I don't love, like, the spotlight. Like, I love football and I love all that. I don't love the spotlight. I just think it's weird. Like, now we're getting to, like, deep stuff, but, like, I don't know. It's kind of weird, and not weird to their fans because, like, dude, I mean, I remember when I would go up and see Murray and, like, be like, dude, what's up, bro? Like, hey, man. Like, when I was a kid, like, taking pictures with him, and I get that, and so, like, I try to put myself in those shoes, especially when it's a kid. Like, when it's a kid, and, like, you see, like, the genuine smiles, and they're like you know, like all that stuff. Like I love that. That makes me, you know, feel great. And, you know, because I was in that kid's shoes before, like that, you know, I know what that feels like. What I don't know it feels like is like, I don't know, when people, you know, it's when it feels off, like it feels off, you know, like
Yeah.
when it's weird, I'm like, well, you know, I'm just not gonna deal with that, you know, like I'm just not gonna, um, you know, and that's
Is
why.
it because you almost feel like you have to be like on, like you have to be this different version of yourself, well, no matter what the occasion is, like you have to win the moment. Sometimes when people run up on you like that.
No, I think it's, you know, no, because I try to be myself because, you know, I think I was raised right, and you know, I'm a solid character, and so, you know, if I'm myself, and there's a camera on, then there's nothing, you know, nothing to hide, nothing like that. Um, but it's almost, I mean, it's just, I don't know. Like I don't want to be like I'm a dude, like I'm just a,
Yeah, just a regular guy.
and it feels like, um, when you say stuff, when you put stuff out there, when you know, whenever people see one thing, then it's almost like everything they hear about you from then on will be drawn back to that reference point. Will be drawn back to
Yeah.
this. When it's like, dude, like I think about a lot of stuff. Like I do it, like you know, like when it's football season, like it's football season. But like, you know, like there's a lot of stuff going on in the world, and like you know, I don't know what it is, but like I feel like if I say anything, then it's, you know, people see one quote and forget that you know there was 100 hours that went into coming up with that quote, you know,
Yeah.
and that's that's what like life is to me. And so, and I think that's what life is to everybody, but I think people forget about that whenever like they see celebrities or stuff like that. They view them through this very narrow lens and this very narrow of like who they should be and who they are. Like, dude, I'm me, you
Yeah.
know, like, and so that's where it, I don't know, it just feels off. And you know, I don't know, I can't put it to words, I can't put it to anything, but like, you know, it's just it feels weird. But when it's real, then it's real, and I think I can see that.
I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but like you're a small town Georgia kid. Like as much as you believe in your abilities, I think in your heart of hearts, there is very little chance you ever thought this, what we're talking about right now, this was ever accomplishable for you, right? I mean, so for it to happen, this is probably like this is not only is it all new, but this is still every day you're waking up like, is this real? Like I gotta kind of pitch myself like this happened, like I got here.
Well, I'll say this. Um, I've always been the guy that like, and I just didn't think about it.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know because like it hadn't happened yet. Like, but if you would have told me when I was a kid that like I just never thought I was going to stop. You know, and these are one of those things when you say that they're like, oh, it's just well, no, I just didn't think about it. Like I'll you know, I remember like I'd hear these song lyrics about you know, there's this Robert O'Keefe song. I can't remember what it was, but you know, it's something about like he went and played ball in college, but his buddies couldn't come because you know they didn't ask him to. Like they
Yeah.
did, and you know I could always romanticize with the feeling of um, playing that last high school football game and never playing football again. And to me, it's like one of the saddest things in the world because it's when the world tells you that you got to grow up now, and it ain't up to you no more, and it like it's heartbreaking. Like and so that's what you know, especially last year when people were like, you know, why'd you come back? And I'm like, what? I mean, like this thing I'm holding on. You want me to like voluntarily cut it? Like, what are
Yeah.
you? It's football. Like I love football, and it's for no other deeper reason than that. Like it is no like I like the game, and when it's over, then I'll do something else. But for right now, like I love the game, and and so like I don't think about the celebrity because it's not me, and I try to like I don't let it get to me because the thing that I'm scared of the most thing I'm scared of the most, and I thought this in like 2020, whenever it happened.
Mhm.
I was like, I do not want this to change me. Like, this will not change me because I'm just playing football. Like, everybody else just tells me it's cool, But like, if everybody else just went and watched like computer clubs, then like computer club people would be the most famous guys in the world, not me. Like, and so like I just play football. I play the game, and I don't let it change me because if I didn't play the game, then I'd be living a life and I'd be cool and all that stuff. And so like I was all right before all this happened, and I'm gonna be all right if it didn't happen, like um so as far as like thinking about it or spending time on it, like I spend time on it because I'm like, all right, so this is the reality now. Like this is what it is. And again, it doesn't make you better than anybody else. It's just what it is. And so I try to live it like that. And everybody's like, oh, it was always this dream to play football at Georgia. And I mean, I love Georgia. Like, this is not saying that anything. Like, I just didn't think about it like that. Like, I was playing football in Pierce County High School. Like that's what I was doing right then. I wasn't making plans. I've never been a big planner. Like, I take things as they come because like we're living right now. And like and I would go to games and I would cheer and I would I'd be a fan just like everybody else. Like I remember when I walked on here in 2017. It was weird. It just shuts off because now I'm a part of it. Now this is my team. This is this is Pierce County Bears, right?
Yeah.
Part of now. But then as soon as I went to JUCO, like I'm watching the SEC championship game against Bama, and like I'm on the edge of my seat. Like I'm like, what is going on? Like a fan because you're not a part of it. Like, and same way I'll be this year, right? But when you're a part of it, like I'm just doing my job every day. Just like everybody else does their job. My job is just go throw a football. But I'm also self-aware enough to know that like I just throw a football. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not like, that's what
It's not that deep. Like it is after, like my brother used to try to explain it to me this way. It's still a kid's game, bro. Like little kids play this, they have a freaking awesome time.
There's this guy from Brandon County High School, Mikhail Collins. And he was probably better than me in high school. Well, he was better at some things than I was in high school, right? But he was a hell of an athlete. Like he was, I mean, amazing. And you know why I'm a lot better than him now? Because I just played every day since then, and he did. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I figured it out along the way. That doesn't mean I'm not as good as I am right now. And I think that's what people forget. They're like, well, he wasn't in 2020. That was 3 years ago. Like, like I am this good right now.
Mm-hmm.
Who, what, when, where, purple, green, whatever you want to say about it. Like that's the fact, and but it is as simple as the reason is because I just played everything, and it's as simple as that. That's what it is.
All right. This is going to be, I don't expect you to, well, you're you, so you might answer it 100% honest. What's the best thing about being the quarterback at the University of Georgia?
The best thing.
I mean, you were the starting quarterback for 2.5 seasons.
Yeah.
What was the best amenity that came with being the starting quarterback?
The best amenity. Oh, dude, honestly, probably the freaking you said amenity, so it took my mind there, but we got this honestly the best thing. I don't know how to answer this question. Our cryo chamber is pretty dope, and we got these salt tubs. They're pretty sweet. The medical staff there, it is unbelievable, and the strength staff, but just like all the equipment that we have, like it is. If you want to feel better, you can. You can.
Did you play through a broken thumb in 2020?
An index finger
on the throwing hand? Yeah, it might explain some stuff. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like super evident on film, but you could tell you were dealing with something.
But you can
So
go
yeah, I always
back and you can look at. It happened at the end of the Tennessee, the Auburn game. It was 3rd and 5. It threw like an under to D-Rob.
your first true start, right?
First true start. Yeah, and it happened, and I was like, "Are you joking?" Like the last drive, like I can't, like I had a great game, and then, but you can go back and look at Tennessee and Alabama. I don't know if I still had it in Florida, but like I was wearing
Put it together.
black brace on my fingers and stuff because this thing just kept wanting to fall. But yeah.
That's how you control the, like for people at home, that's how you control the nose of the football. He talked about not being able to spin the Nike balls correctly and changing his grip. I'm sure a lot of that had to do with your index finger, did it not?
Yeah, it was. So if you want to get deep in the hand stuff, like I can take you there. But we won't necessarily now. But yeah, at the time, yeah, it was the index, and you couldn't really flick it there and control it. But yeah.
All right. I asked you what the best thing. What's the ugliest thing about being the University of Georgia quarterback? Because I know there are some ugly portions of being. Now, you might be different again for this because like you had the whole you had the flip phone era of the Stetson Bennett saga and story arc. But what was the ugliest thing about being a starting quarterback at Georgia? Because I know what it would be for me. I couldn't deal with what happens on Twitter with the Georgia fan base. I couldn't. Not as knowing that that's about me, the ups and downs that come with it. So go ahead.
Hey, like it doesn't really bother me whenever people are saying stuff about football because I'm like, oh, you just don't have a clue. Like you don't even have a concept of having a clue. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you just know the English words to say. Like you don't know. And but the word it's whenever it and people for some reason think it's the same thing, but it's not. When you're talking about football, right? You can talk about football. But then whenever it spills over into like who you are as a person, and you're taking this little half ounce, 30-second thing that happened over here, and you're like question like how I was raised. Well, I spent 18 years in the house. Like we had a lot of Wednesday night church meetings, we had a lot of Sunday night, a lot of Sunday morning, like a lot of running late at night with the high school coach. Like everything has all combined to produce me here at this moment. And I'm grateful for those people and those things. And so, and I know who I am. And so whenever it stems out, when people think that they are entitled to or have the ability to talk about who you are as a person, like question your character, because like it doesn't even make sense to me.
No.
But it still happens. And then the worst part is when people don't like people, a lot of people are never going to meet me in my life ever. Like just, I won't meet a lot of people. And so when you're talking on, wherever you're talking, TV, somewhere else, and you start, straddling that line of talking about like the man, the person, like who they are behind closed doors when you've never met in well, that's what they're going to hear. And that's probably the closest they're ever going to get to me. And this is still real life. I know these are cameras. I know there's no immediate threat of like anything. But like, it's still real life. And you're talking about me, and then you can twist it and, you start causing doubt and like, yeah, it's pretty bad. But at the end of the day, you can't, do anything about it. I just hope that, eventually that just stops being cool because this is like, it's not cool. And it's not really interesting. Like people talked about football for 50, 60 years and all they talked about was football.
Yeah.
Like you can still just talk about football.
Stetson, I don't assume that you watch any of what I do, but that's what I try to do. I try to just watch and talk football. Like, don't try to steer any type of narratives into it. The only thing I'll ever like willingly question is like if you do something dirty on tape, like I know it's dirty. Like we know what dirty football plays look like, or if you like visibly, obviously lack effort. Those are the only two things I will ever talk about negatively towards players. Other than that, like I'm not in the room. Like I know what, I know what football plays look like, right? But I don't know the exact responsibilities of each individual player. It's why I've always had problems with like the pro football focus method of like slapping grades on stuff. Dude, you're not in the room. So how do you know what the actual responsibilities and assignment, alignment, execution are of that particular football player in that particular football play? It's impossible. Like it's a moving target no matter how much football you know. So I get where you're coming from, where it's like you probably read things, not all the time, but you probably read stuff and like, that's just bullshit. Like you look at it, you're like, that's just wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. But as far as the football goes, like I'll read it and I'll be like, that's wrong. But like, it's just wrong. Like there's no, like, I don't get mad about that kind of stuff or anything like that because like, it's just like, it's wrong. And, also, I know that those PFF and all that stuff that like, that's more for, like fans and like shrinking, like giving off, more, and which I think is awesome because I think football is the greatest in the world. And, you know, I'm glad that more people are like, getting a part of and all that stuff. But what I would say is like, don't lie to yourself and think that's what's happening. Like you can understand the game through those metrics and you can understand the game that way. But like, also understand that like, that's not how it works. Like, that's not what happens. Nobody looks at that stuff, I don't even know what it means, like we got to get first downs, and yeah.
All right. You want to watch some football? I know we've been here for a little while. Do
Yeah,
you want to
well,
watch football or you got to go?